The screen flickered with the frantic energy of a viral video, and everyone around me erupted in laughter. I sat there, a frozen smile plastered on my face, my mind racing to decode the jumble of sounds that had just elicited such joy. I had caught maybe 2 words, but the punchline, the reason for the collective glee, was lost in a blur of speed and sound. It was in that humiliating moment, surrounded by friends, that I realized my textbook English was a beautiful, theoretical map, but the terrain of everyday conversation was an entirely different world. That map was useless if I couldn't navigate the actual landscape. If you've ever felt that hollow feeling, that sense of being on the outside of a joke because the English spoken was just too fast, too slippery, then you have found your tribe. This is our space to conquer that very challenge. Welcome to a transformative approach to decoding the velocity of native English speech. I am your host and fellow traveler on this path, and I am truly grateful you've pressed play today. In our sessions together, we will meticulously unpack the core mechanics that make rapid English seem like an insurmountable wall. We will reframe it from an obstacle into an opportunity for growth. I want you to recall a specific instance. Have you ever tuned into a news broadcast, tried to follow a lively podcast, or listened to an announcement at an airport and felt a wave of defeat wash over you because the speaker's pace was simply overwhelming? It's as if they're playing a different game with rules you were never taught. If this scenario is your reality, I want you to know, with absolute certainty, that your experience is shared by millions. This is not a unique shortcoming. It is the most common and natural stage in the evolution of an English language learner. When the language is presented in a slow, clear, and segmented manner, your understanding feels solid and secure. However, when you are immersed in the authentic flow of natural dialogue, where words blend and shift, it can feel profoundly disorienting, as if the language itself is transforming before your ears. Our mission is to build your auditory resilience. We will train your cognitive and oral faculties to not only keep up but to truly comprehend English at its natural tempo. I will guide you through a clear understanding of the linguistic reasons behind this difficulty, reveal the hidden patterns and shortcuts native speakers use unconsciously, and, crucially, I will provide you with a comprehensive suite of real-world techniques and repeatable exercises designed to catalyze your progress. So, if that sense of being left behind when English accelerates is a feeling you know all too well, I encourage you to stay committed. When we reach the end of this journey, you will hold a new blueprint, a collection of effective tools, innovative approaches, and a deeply rooted self-assurance to meet fast English head-on, whether it emerges from your smartphone screen, a car radio, or a face-to-face dialogue. Shall we take this first step together? Let's begin. Before we can conquer the challenge of fast English, we must first understand the nature of the beast itself. We must ask a fundamental and critical question: why does this feel so incredibly difficult? The honest truth is that the English you encounter in the real world is vastly different from the English typically presented in educational materials. In a classroom setting, we become accustomed to listening to a deliberately slow and hyperclear version of the language. Our instructors, with the best of intentions, pronounce each word with careful separation and precision. However, native speakers in their daily lives do not communicate in this manner. They are not attempting to be difficult, they are simply operating in their linguistic comfort zone, using the natural speech patterns they have absorbed since childhood. To illuminate this disconnect, let's explore the primary reasons behind the challenge. The first reason is a phenomenon known as connected speech. In natural conversation, speakers frequently link words together, causing the end of one word to flow seamlessly into the beginning of the next. For instance, the carefully articulated question, "What are you doing?" often transforms in rapid speech into something that sounds like, "What ya doin'?" Can you hear the dramatic difference? The individual words lose their hard boundaries, merging to create a new, fluid sound. The second reason involves the reduction of sounds. When English is spoken quickly, many vowel and consonant sounds are softened, shortened, or may disappear entirely. Consider the phrase "going to." In its full form, it is clear and distinct. But in the wild, you will almost exclusively hear it as gonna. Similarly, want to becomes wanna. If you are mentally waiting to hear the full, canonical pronunciation, you will be consistently disappointed, as the reduced form is the one actually used in spontaneous speech. The third reason revolves around the concepts of speed and rhythm. Native speakers do not deliver words in a monotonous, one word at a time staccato. Instead, they employ a musicality of stress and intonation. Content words, nouns, main verbs, adjectives, are stressed and given more time, while function words, prepositions, articles, conjunctions, are spoken quickly and softly, almost whispered. Take the sentence, "I'm going to go to the store." In practice, your ear will clearly pick up going and store, but the small connecting words to and the become fleeting, barely audible ghosts between the pillars of meaning. This rhythm is essential to the character of the language. The fourth reason is the pervasive use of slang and informal expressions. Everyday communication is filled with colloquialisms and contractions that rarely appear in formal textbooks. A standard greeting like "How are you?" might be rendered as "How's it goin'?" or even "How you doin'?" Another example is the phrase "Did you eat yet?", which can be compressed in casual American speech to something that sounds like "Jeet yet?" If you are unfamiliar with these common shortcuts, it can feel as if everyone is speaking in a secret code designed to exclude you. And, of course, we must acknowledge the vast spectrum of accents. English is a global language, with dominant variations in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and many other countries. Each of these accents possesses its own unique characteristics, preferred rhythms, and distinct pronunciation rules. A speed that is challenging in one accent can become even more so in another. So, to bring it all together, fast English presents a difficulty because the sounds are consistently connected, many words are systematically reduced, the rhythmic pattern is unpredictable to the untrained ear, informal language is ubiquitous, and accents add another layer of variation. But here is the empowering news: these are not random, chaotic events. They are predictable patterns. And once you learn to recognize and anticipate these patterns, the seemingly impenetrable noise of fast English will begin to resolve into clear, familiar, and comprehensible speech. In our next part, we will peer behind the curtain to examine exactly how native speakers produce this natural speech, demystifying the process. Now, let's pull back the curtain and look closely at how native speakers actually produce their speech. The reality is that most of the time, They are not speaking the carefully enunciated English found in instructional recordings. When native speakers engage in conversation, they are utilizing a form of communication we call natural connected speech. This natural speech is characterized by several distinct and consistent features that, once you understand them, will make the rapid flow of language much more decipherable. Allow me to explain these features in detail. The first key feature is the linking of sounds. Speakers often connect the final sound of one word directly to the initial sound of the following word, making them sound like a single unit. For instance, the phrase "turn off the light" is frequently spoken as "turn off the light," where the N sound at the end of turn attaches itself to the O sound at the beginning of off. Another common example is "I want it," which in fluid speech becomes "I want it," blending the T sounds together. This linking is a primary reason why individual words can be difficult to distinguish. The second feature is the ubiquitous use of contractions. We very rarely say the full forms "I am" or "he is" in casual conversation. Instead, we automatically use the contracted forms "I'm" and "he's." Similarly, "they are" becomes "there," and "we will" becomes "we'll." These contractions are not a sign of laziness. They are a standard and essential part of spoken English, serving to make the language flow more quickly and smoothly. The third feature involves the dropping of certain sounds altogether. Sometimes, particular consonant sounds are omitted to facilitate a faster pace. For example, the phrase "next day" might be pronounced as "next day," with the T sound being dropped. The common expression "I don't know" often sounds like "I dunno," where multiple sounds are softened or removed. This is not incorrect. It is simply the efficient and natural way people have grown accustomed to speaking. The fourth, and perhaps most musical, feature is the use of stress and rhythm. In English, we do not give equal weight or time to every syllable in a sentence. Instead, we stress key words that carry the core meaning, while function words are weakened and spoken quickly. Consider the sentence, "I want to go to the store." In this statement, the stressed words are want, go, and store. These words are pronounced with more force and clarity. The smaller words to and the are compressed into quick, soft sounds that barely register. This rhythmic pattern is why you sometimes feel you miss the small words. They are purposefully de-emphasized and spoken at a speed that makes them seem to fly by. So, when you listen to native speakers, it is vital to remember they are not trying to confuse you. They are simply communicating in the efficient, rhythmic manner that is customary for them. The profoundly good news is that these patterns are not random. They are highly systematic and they repeat constantly. Once you learn to actively recognize and anticipate them, linking, contractions, dropped sounds, and rhythmic stress, you will find that your brain begins to process spoken English much more effectively. In the next segment, we will explore the psychology of listening. We will examine what occurs inside your mind when you encounter fast speech and why it sometimes triggers a panic response that blocks understanding. This is a critical element, because comprehending a language is not solely an auditory task, it is also a mental and emotional one. Now, let's talk about something absolutely vital, yet often overlooked, the psychology of listening. Have you ever noticed that when someone speaks English at a rapid pace, the problem isn't solely linguistic? It becomes an emotional crisis as well. A wave of nervousness washes over you, your heart rate might increase, and a silent voice in your head screams, "I can't understand this. I'm completely lost." Please know that this reaction is not only normal, it is a common experience for language learners everywhere. Our brains are magnificently wired to process the familiar sounds of our first language with effortless efficiency. However, when confronted with the rapid-fire sounds of a second language, the brain requires additional milliseconds to decode each unfamiliar pattern. The problem is, the speaker does not pause to grant you this processing time. The words keep coming, a relentless torrent of sound, and this sensory overload quickly leads to a feeling of being completely overwhelmed. Here exists another layer to this challenge. Many learners unconsciously adopt a strategy of internal translation. They listen to an English sentence and feel compelled to convert each word, one by one, into their native tongue to extract the meaning. While this might seem logical, it is a trap in the context of fast, natural speech. There simply is no time for this meticulous process. While you are still deciphering the first word, the speaker has already moved on to the fourth or fifth, leaving you behind in a cloud of confusion and missed meaning. This is a primary source of that disorienting feeling of being lost. So, what is the first and most crucial step you can take? It is to consciously choose to stay calm. You must resist the urge to panic when you miss a word, or even several words. That is perfectly acceptable. Shift your mental goal from capturing every single syllable to grasping the central idea, the main theme of what is being said. Your brain is an incredibly powerful prediction machine. Even if you comprehend only 50% of the sounds, your mind can use contextual clues to infer the missing pieces. Consider this reassuring fact. Native speakers do not catch and process every single word in every conversation they have. They constantly use context, the speaker's tone of voice, and the emphasized keywords to construct meaning on the fly. This is a skill you can absolutely learn to emulate. Therefore, remember that the psychology of listening is fundamentally about relaxation. It is about deliberately focusing on the key ideas and, most importantly, learning to trust the innate capabilities of your own brilliant brain. The more relaxed and open your mental state is, the more you will find yourself actually understanding. Now that we have established a calm and focused mindset, it is time to introduce the key principles, the golden rules that will systematically guide you toward understanding fast English with greater ease. These are not quick fixes but foundational concepts that, when embraced, will rewire your approach to listening. Principle number 1 is perhaps the most liberating. Do not try to understand every single word. This is, in fact, one of the most significant and common mistakes learners make. When you fixate on capturing each individual word, you inevitably get stuck on the ones you miss, creating a cascade of confusion that causes you to lose the entire thread of the conversation. Instead, you must train yourself to focus on the keywords. These are the content-rich words that carry the essential meaning of the sentence, typically nouns, main verbs, and descriptive adjectives. For example, if someone says, "So, I was kind of tired yesterday, but I ended up going out with my friends and we saw this absolutely amazing movie," you do not need every adverb and filler word. The keywords tired, yesterday, went out, friends, and amazing movie provide more than enough information for you to grasp the core narrative. Your brain can seamlessly connect these dots. Principle number 2 is to listen actively for context. Context is the surrounding framework of the conversation, the situation, the topic being discussed, and the words that come immediately before and after an unfamiliar term. If you know the discussion is about morning routines, then when you hear someone say, "I just need to grab a quick," your mind will logically fill in coffee or breakfast, not umbrella. Context provides your brain with the necessary clues to make intelligent predictions and fill in the auditory gaps. Principle number 3 is to train your ears to recognize common patterns and reductions. In fast, natural English, certain phonetic patterns and contractions appear again and again with remarkable consistency. High-frequency phrases like gonna for going to, wanna for want to, gotta for got to, and dunno for don't know are the building blocks of informal speech. By dedicating time to practice and internalize these specific sounds, you will stop hearing them as noise and start recognizing them as the familiar, standard units of meaning they are. This is how you begin to decode the secret rhythm of the language. Principle number 4 is to prioritize consistency over duration. It is far more effective to listen to English for 15 minutes every single day than for 2 hours only once a week. Regular, daily exposure creates a sustained training effect for your ears and brain, building your skills gradually and solidly. This consistent practice makes the unfamiliar sounds of the language become progressively more familiar and less intimidating over time. Let us now transition from understanding the principles to implementing powerful, practical strategies. These are the concrete exercises that will translate theory into tangible improvement in your listening comprehension. Strategy 1 involves using subtitles intelligently. Many of us rely on subtitles as a crutch, but they can be transformed into a dynamic training tool. The key is to use them actively, not passively. Begin by watching a short video clip with the English subtitles enabled. This allows your brain to connect the written words with the sounds you are hearing. Then, re-watch the exact same clip but with the subtitles turned off. Challenge yourself to identify the words and phrases you just read. This process forges a powerful neural connection between the visual representation of the language and its authentic spoken form. Over time, as your confidence grows, you will find yourself needing the subtitles less and less, relying instead on your newly trained ears. Strategy 2 is the deliberate practice of listening without any visual aids. This means periodically consuming audio-only content, such as podcasts or radio broadcasts, where you cannot fall back on reading lips or subtitles. This forces your brain to focus exclusively on the auditory input, strengthening your ability to decode meaning from sound alone. It may feel more challenging initially, but this is precisely how you build robust listening muscles. Strategy 3 is a technique called repetition and shadowing, which is exceptionally powerful for integrating listening and speaking skills. Select a very short audio clip, perhaps only 10 to 15 seconds long, from a movie, podcast, or song. Listen to it carefully once or twice to get a sense of the overall flow. Then, play it again and attempt to speak the words aloud at the exact same time as the native speaker, mimicking their pace, rhythm, and intonation as closely as possible. This is shadowing. For example, if the speaker says, "Whatcha doin'?" you must strive to replicate that exact sound, not the formal "what are you doing?" This simultaneous listening and speaking trains your mouth to form the reduced sounds of natural speech and sharpens your ear to perceive its nuances. Do not be discouraged if it feels awkward at first. This is a highly sophisticated skill that improves with consistent practice. Strategy 4 is built on the simple yet profound power of listening multiple times. Our first encounter with a piece of fast audio is often characterized by fragmented understanding. The brain is working hard simply to segment the stream of sound into words. Therefore, do not listen just once and move on. Play the same audio segment 3, 4, or even 5 times. You will be amazed at how much more you comprehend with each repetition. The first time, you might only catch the general topic. The second time, several keywords will emerge clearly. By the third or fourth repetition, entire phrases and the grammatical structure will snap into focus. This repetition is like a magic key that unlocks clarity. Building on the power of repetition, let me introduce you to Strategy 5. Developing flexibility with different accents. The English language is a global tapestry, woven with distinct and vibrant accents from North America, the British Isles, Australia, and many other regions. Each of these accents has its own unique melody, characteristic vowel sounds, and specific rhythmic patterns. At the beginning of your training, it is perfectly wise to focus primarily on one accent, perhaps the one you are most frequently exposed to build a solid foundation. However, to become a truly confident and versatile listener, you must gradually and intentionally expose your ears to this wonderful diversity. Make a point of occasionally listening to a podcast hosted by a British speaker, then switch to a news report from Canada, or watch a film featuring Australian actors. This practice trains your brain to become adaptable, to stop expecting one single correct sound for each word, and to instead recognize the common core of the language that exists beneath all its varied accents. This flexibility is what will make you feel prepared and unshakable in real-world situations where you cannot control who you are speaking with or listening to. Strategy 6 is about integrating joy into your practice by using songs and short, engaging videos. Music is a phenomenal tool because it is repetitive, emotional, and memorable. Select a song you enjoy, find its lyrics online, and listen to it while following along. Then, try to sing along with the artist, mimicking their pronunciation and rhythm. Similarly, short video clips from comedians, viral content, or animated sketches are excellent because they are brief and often rely on visual context that supports your understanding. The laughter or emotional connection you feel will cement the language patterns in your memory far more effectively than rote memorization. When learning is a pleasure, not a chore, you will naturally seek out more opportunities to practice, and your progress will accelerate. Strategy 7 is the cornerstone of rapid improvement, active listening. This is the deliberate, focused practice that truly builds skill, as opposed to passive listening, where English simply plays in the background while you do other things. Active listening means you are fully engaged with the audio. You are pausing the playback to repeat a tricky phrase. You are writing down the keywords you managed to catch. You are asking yourself questions about the main idea you just heard. This focused attention, even for short periods, forces your brain to process the language at a deep level and creates strong, lasting neural pathways. It is the quality of your listening practice, not just the quantity, that will ultimately determine your rate of success. So, what does this active, strategic practice look like in your daily life? Let me provide you with a clear and manageable daily exercise idea. I want you to commit to spending just 5 to 10 minutes each day in focused listening practice. This is not an overwhelming time commitment, but its cumulative effect will be profound. Here is a simple routine you can start today. First, choose one short video clip, perhaps from a news summary or a YouTube tutorial, that is roughly 1 to 2 minutes long. Begin by watching it once with English subtitles on, allowing your brain to make the connection between the written and spoken word. Then, take a deep breath and watch it a second time with the subtitles disabled. Challenge yourself to identify the key nouns and verbs that form the backbone of the message. Finally, select one short sentence from the clip, maybe 5 to 7 words long, and practice shadowing it. Repeat that single sentence aloud 3 or 4 times, trying to match the speaker's speed and melody as closely as you can. That's it. This entire process, from the first viewing to the final shadowing repetition, should take no more than 10 to 15 minutes. The magic is not in doing an exhaustive, hour-long session once a week, but in performing this focused micro-practice consistently, day after day. After just a few weeks of this disciplined routine, you will notice a remarkable difference in your ability to segment and comprehend rapid speech. The sounds that once blurred together will begin to separate into distinct, recognizable words. Remember, training your ears to understand fast English is precisely like exercising a muscle. You would not expect to lift a heavy weight perfectly on your first attempt. You start with lighter weights and consistent repetitions. Similarly, your auditory muscles need regular, gradual training to grow stronger. The more you train them with these focused exercises, the more powerful and resilient they become. In our next segment, we will examine the common mistakes that can hinder this progress, so you can consciously avoid these pitfalls and accelerate your journey toward fluency. Now, before we move forward, it is crucial to illuminate the common mistakes that can silently sabotage a learner's progress. Being aware of these pitfalls will allow you to consciously avoid them, saving you valuable time and frustration on your path to improvement. The first and most pervasive mistake is the relentless pursuit of perfection, the attempt to understand every single word. Many learners operate under the false belief that if they do not catch 100% of the words, they have somehow failed. This mindset creates immense pressure and anxiety, which, as we discussed, actively hinders the brain's ability to process information. The truth is, even native speakers do not process every single word in a conversation. Their brains are skilled at filtering and focusing on the essential meaning. Your goal should be comprehension, not perfection. Embrace the fact that missing words is a normal part of the process, not a reflection of your ability. The second common mistake is remaining in the safe zone by only listening to slow, deliberately articulated English. It is comfortable to listen to language learning recordings or teachers who speak with perfect clarity. However, if you never venture beyond this comfort zone, you are not preparing your ears for the reality of spontaneous speech. Real-world English is fast, connected, and messy. Avoiding it ensures you will never develop the necessary skills to decode it. You must be brave and deliberately expose yourself to authentic, challenging material regularly. The third mistake is listening once and then giving up in frustration. Many learners press play on a challenging audio clip, find it difficult, and immediately switch it off, concluding it is too hard. This is the most significant missed opportunity. The first listen is always the most difficult. Your brain is simply orienting itself. The magic happens upon the second, third, and fourth repetition. Understanding is built through repeated exposure. Denying yourself those crucial subsequent listens is like walking away from a treasure chest after turning the key only once. The lock needs a few more turns to open. The fourth mistake is allowing discouragement to take root too quickly. The inner voice that whispers, "I'll never understand this," or "my listening is just bad," is a formidable enemy. This negative self-talk creates a mental block that can paralyze your progress. Learning to understand fast English is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires patience and a kind, encouraging attitude toward yourself. Celebrate the small victories, the phrase you finally deciphered, the sentence you shadowed successfully. These small wins accumulate into major breakthroughs. So, remember to release the need for perfect understanding, courageously embrace fast and authentic materials, commit to listening multiple times, and fiercely protect your mindset from discouragement. By steering clear of these common errors, you will clear the path for rapid and sustained improvement. Next, we will shift our focus to how we can inject joy and creativity into this process, making your practice something you genuinely look forward to. Now, let us transform our practice from a routine into a delight, because when you genuinely enjoy the process, you will naturally practice more frequently and improve more rapidly. Here are some wonderfully fun and creative practice ideas designed to sharpen your ability to understand fast English. Idea number 1 is to leverage your favorite television shows or movies. Select a series or film that you truly love. Do not avoid content because it seems too fast. That is precisely why it is valuable. Choose a short scene, approximately 30 to 45 seconds long. First, watch it with English subtitles to understand the complete dialogue and context. Then, re-watch the same scene with the subtitles turned off. Challenge yourself to identify the connected speech and reduced forms you now know are there. You will be astonished at how much more you can capture when your brain is engaged with content that already brings you pleasure. The emotional connection dramatically enhances learning. Idea number 2 is to turn listening into a game with Guess the Word. Listen to a short audio clip from a song, a podcast, or a video. Pause the playback right before a keyword in a sentence and try to predict what that word will be based on the context and the sentence structure. Then, continue listening to check if you were correct. This active prediction engages different parts of your brain and transforms passive listening into an interactive, detective-like activity that is both challenging and immensely rewarding. Idea number 3 is to imitate your favorite actors or public speakers. Choose a charismatic speaker from a film or a TED Talk and find a powerful or interesting sentence they deliver. Practice saying that exact sentence aloud, striving to copy not just the words, but their specific tone, their pacing, their pauses, and their emotional emphasis. This exercise, often called imitation, feels like acting and is a profoundly effective way to internalize the rhythm and music of natural English. It trains your ear to hear nuance and your mouth to produce it. Idea number 4 is the powerful technique of recording yourself. Using your smartphone, record your voice as you shadow a short clip from a native speaker. Then, listen back to the recording and compare it directly to the original. Pay close attention to the differences in speed, the blending of words, and the rhythm. This might feel awkward at first, but it provides you with immediate, invaluable feedback. It allows you to become your own coach, identifying areas for improvement in a safe, private space. This practice is not only highly effective but can also be a fun and revealing journey of self-discovery. Now, let us transform our practice from a routine into a delight, because when you genuinely enjoy the process, you will naturally practice more frequently and improve more rapidly. Here are some wonderfully fun and creative practice ideas designed to sharpen your ability to understand fast English. Idea number 1 is to leverage your favorite television shows or movies. Select a series or film that you truly love. Do not avoid content because it seems too fast. That is precisely why it is valuable. Choose a short scene, approximately 30 to 45 seconds long. First, watch it with English subtitles to understand the complete dialogue and context. Then, re-watch the same scene with the subtitles turned off. Challenge yourself to identify the connected speech and reduced forms you now know are there. You will be astonished at how much more you can capture when your brain is engaged with content that already brings you pleasure. The emotional connection dramatically enhances learning. Idea number 2 is to turn listening into a game with Guess the Word. Listen to a short audio clip from a song, a podcast, or a video. Pause the playback right before a keyword in a sentence and try to predict what that word will be based on the context and the sentence structure. Then, continue listening to check if you were correct. This active prediction engages different parts of your brain and transforms passive listening into an interactive, detective-like activity that is both challenging and immensely rewarding. Idea number 3 is to imitate your favorite actors or public speakers. Choose a charismatic speaker from a film or a TED Talk and find a powerful or interesting sentence they deliver. Practice saying that exact sentence aloud, striving to copy not just the words, but their specific tone, their pacing, their pauses, and their emotional emphasis. This exercise, often called imitation, feels like acting and is a profoundly effective way to internalize the rhythm and music of natural English. It trains your ear to hear nuance and your mouth to produce it. Idea number 4 is the powerful technique of recording yourself. Using your smartphone, record your voice as you shadow a short clip from a native speaker. Then, listen back to the recording and compare it directly to the original. Pay close attention to the differences in speed, the blending of words, and the rhythm. This might feel awkward at first, but it provides you with immediate, invaluable feedback. It allows you to become your own coach, identifying areas for improvement in a safe, private space. This practice is not only highly effective but can also be a fun and revealing journey of self-discovery. I want to pause here and offer you a heartfelt moment of encouragement. I understand completely that listening to fast English can sometimes feel overwhelmingly difficult. In those moments, you might feel a wave of frustration, or even the disheartening thought that perhaps you will never truly grasp the language at its natural speed. Please, in those instances, remember this: you are capable of this. Every single person who has ever learned to understand rapid English has faced this exact same struggle. It is a universal rite of passage. The initial difficulty is not a sign of failure. It is proof that you are challenging yourself, that you are stepping beyond the boundaries of your current comfort zone. This is where real growth happens. Think of it like learning to appreciate a complex piece of music. The first time you hear a symphony, it might just sound like a chaotic blend of instruments. But after listening to it several times, your ear begins to distinguish the melodies of the violin from the rhythm of the cello. The chaos resolves into a beautiful, intricate pattern. English is precisely the same. At first, it is an unfamiliar noise. Then, with repeated and patient exposure, the individual components begin to separate and become clear. You will start to recognize the melody of questions, the rhythm of statements, and the unique texture of different accents. So, I implore you, do not surrender to frustration. Celebrate your small victories with intention. Perhaps today you correctly understood a fast-paced slogan in a commercial. Maybe tomorrow you will catch the full meaning of a quick exchange between characters in a show. These are not small things. They are significant milestones on your journey. Each one is a stepping stone leading you irrevocably toward fluency. Always hold this truth close to your heart. Fast English is not an immovable wall designed to block your path. It is simply a skill, a muscle you are in the process of training. And with consistent practice, unwavering patience, and a positive mindset, you will undoubtedly reach your goal. Let us now bring everything together and review the most essential lessons from our time together. These are the key takeaways that will serve as your guiding principles moving forward. First, we established that fast English feels difficult for concrete, understandable reasons. Words connect through linking, sounds become reduced or disappear, native speakers use a distinct rhythm and stress pattern, informal slang is commonplace, and accents introduce variation. This is not a problem unique to you, but a normal challenge that every learner faces and can overcome with targeted training. Second, and this is perhaps the most crucial mindset shift, you must abandon the quest to catch every single word. Instead, focus your attention on the keywords that carry the core meaning of the message. Listen for the overall context and trust your brilliant brain to use that context to fill in any gaps. Your ability to predict and infer is one of your most powerful assets in comprehension. Third, we emphasize the non-negotiable importance of consistent, daily ear training. Make listening to English a regular part of your life. Practice the technique of shadowing short clips. Use subtitles as a strategic tool rather than a permanent crutch, and most importantly, inject joy into the process by using songs, movies, and short videos that you genuinely love. When practice is enjoyable, it ceases to be a chore and becomes a rewarding habit. Fourth, we identified common mistakes to avoid. Do not quit after a single attempt at understanding a difficult audio segment. Resist the temptation to remain only in the comfortable zone of slow, clear speech. Do not allow frustration or negative self-talk to derail your progress. Awareness of these pitfalls is your first and best defense against them. Finally, and this underlies every other point, remember that practice, patience, and a positive attitude are your most valuable companions on this journey. Small, consistent efforts compound into remarkable results over time. Do not underestimate the power of spending just 10 minutes each day in focused practice. Step by step, day by day, the rapid flow of English will transform from a confusing noise into clear, comprehensible communication. Take these strategies, make them your own, and trust in the process. Your ability to understand will grow in ways you can scarcely imagine now. I am profoundly confident in your success.